this video we're going to be having a look at converting between fractions, decimals and percentages. So to start us off, I've got three equivalent fractions, decimals and percentages just to have a look at, and because these are equivalent I can use my equals sign. A half is the same as 0.5 is the same as 50%, and I'm going to be using this equivalence all the way through this video because it's one you should be familiar with. Let's have a look at how we do this. So first of all, the way to think about converting between fractions, decimals and percentages is like a cycle. So if you start with a fraction, you can turn it to a decimal, turn it to a percentage, and then back into a fraction. To start off with, we're just going to have a look at converting between a fraction and a decimal. Here are three examples. I'm going to talk you through the first one and then you can have a go at the other two questions. So in this one, 5/8, to turn it into a decimal, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the sum 5, so I'm going to take the numerator and divide it by the denominator 8. When I do this calculation, I'm going to get 0.625, and that's converted 5/8, the fraction, into 0.625, the decimal. Pause the video here, have a go at the two below, hit play when you're ready for the answers. Okay. In this one, exactly like the one above, I'm going to do the numerator 2 divided by the denominator 3. This is going to give me a slightly weird result. This is going to give me 0.6 recurring, which I make sure that I know that it's recurring by putting the little dot above it just there. 0.6 recurring. 4/7, I'm going to do 4 divided by 7, and this is going to give me the answer 0.571. And there are a few things after that, but I'm just interested in 3 decimal places at this point. So just to recap, to go from a fraction to a decimal, to make that conversion, we divide the numerator by the denominator. Now let's have a look at converting between a decimal and a percentage. In this example, we're going to have 0.5 get turned into 50%. Now, exactly the same as before, I'm going to talk you through 0.34 as a conversion, and then you can have a go at the two below. So 0.34, to turn this into a percentage, I'm going to take my decimal and I'm going to multiply it by 100. This is going to give me 34, and that is percent. Pause the video here, have a go at the two below, hit play when you're ready for the answers. Okay, so 0.12, I'm going to do exactly the same as I did above. I'm going to take the decimal and I'm going to multiply it by 100. This is going to give me my percentage, which is 12%. You have to be a little bit careful in the third one. 0.452, because it's got 3 decimal places, when I do 0.452 and times it by 100, I'm actually going to get 45.2. This is okay. There's no problem whatsoever with having a decimal inside my percentage. This is 45.2%. So we've now looked at converting between a decimal and a percentage, and the rule was that you multiply by 100 to get there. Our final conversion we need to look at is converting between a percentage and a fraction. This is the one that most people find trickiest. So 60% is what I'm going to start off with. And to actually do this conversion, I'm going to take my 60% and I'm going to turn it into a fraction, but over 100. So actually that's my conversion done. But you will know from your work on fractions that I will need to tidy this up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I can divide the numerator and the denominator by 10. So that turns the fraction into 6/10. But it's still not fully simplified. I can divide both of these numbers by 2, giving me my simplest version, which is 3/5, and that's turned 60% into 3/5. It's turned a percentage into a fraction. Pause the video here to have a go at the two below. Hit play when you're ready for some answers. Okay, so in this one, 25%, I'm going to make it 25/100. It's always over 100 and then simplify down. So in this case, I can divide both the top and the bottom by 5. That's going to give me 5/20. I'm still not fully simplified because I can divide by 5 again. This is going to give me 1/4. And hopefully you will recognize that 25% is 1/4. 48%, again I'm going to start off with 48/100, and then we're going to start cancelling down from here. So I can divide both by 2. That's going to make 24 over 50. I can still divide both by 2. That's going to make 12 over 25, and they have no common factors, so at this point I'm fully simplified with 12 over 25. So we've just looked at converting between a percentage and a fraction, and the way that we did that was we made it into a fraction and simplified all the way down. So with 50% it would become 50 over 100, and then it would cancel all the way down to 1 over 2. Here are some examples for you to have a go at. I've put the results into a table. Remember, fractions turn into decimals, turn into percentages, turn back into fractions. Think of them as a cycle like that, and you should be okay. Pause the video here, complete the table, hit play when you're ready for some answers. Okay, right, let's fill in the blanks here. So I'm going to start off with a fraction, 3 over 8, and to convert to a decimal I do 3 divided by 8. This is going to give me my answer of 0.375. To turn this into a percentage, I'm going to take this decimal and multiply it by 100, giving me 37.5%. Now, starting with this decimal here, I'm going to turn it into a percentage rather than turn it into a fraction first, because again I'm remembering that cycle. I'm going to go decimal, percentage, then into a fraction. So with this one, all I do is I multiply it by 100, giving me 45%. Now to turn it back into a fraction, I'm going to make it 45 over 100. Now whilst that is a fraction, it's not the simplest version. I'm going to simplify fully to get 9 over 20. That's my preferred version. In this example I'm going to start with 80%, and again I'm going to turn it into a fraction first. So it goes 80 over 100. That's not fully simplified. Fully simplified is 4/5. And to turn that into a decimal, I'm going to do 4 divided by 5, which is 0.8. Example number 4, 24%. I'm going to make it 24 over 100, and that's not fully simplified, so I'll need to fully simplify this to get 6 over 25, and then I'm going to do 6 divided by 25 to get my decimal, which is 0.24. Example number 5 is a little bit tricky. 0.07. Times this by 100 to get your correct percentage, which is 7%. Take care here not to get this confused with 70%. Once I've got 7%, I'm going to make this 7 over 100, just like in the previous ones, and simplify down. Now 7 over 100 is actually the simplest version of this fraction, so that is my final answer, and I've completed the questions. Well done if you got all 5 of those correct. This is a really key skill that you will need to master for your exams. Thanks for listening.